In May 2023, a line was crossed. Protesters stormed military installations across Pakistan, a rare direct challenge to the country's most powerful institution. The unrest followed the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan, but it also revealed something deeper, a breakdown of the delicate balance between politics and the military.
We are just asking them to respect this mandate of the public, that's all.
These attacks are basically a ploy by Mr. Khan and his cohorts to bargain with Pakistan military.
In most democracies, armies take orders from elected leaders. In Pakistan, the army has long held influence, not just over matters of security, but also over politics, economy, and the foreign policy. How has it retained that power? And why is it being challenged now? Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, is now the country's most prominent opposition force. But just a few years back, this party was widely seen as being close to the military establishment. That alliance fractured in 2022 when Khan's government was ousted through a no-confidence vote in parliament. Khan claimed his ouster was engineered with foreign backing and domestic support, including from the army. From that point on, PTI's criticism of Pakistan's army became sharper. Khan survived an assassination attempt he blamed on senior generals, and he was eventually jailed ahead of the 2024 elections. PTI was stripped of its iconic electoral symbol, a cricket bat, and its candidates were forced to contest as independents. Despite that, they won the greatest number of seats in the new parliament, but couldn't form a government. The party claimed its mandate had been stolen.
जो सिलसिला ये रिगिंग का प्रोसेस पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ के खिलाफ किया गया है, इसको हम मदर ऑफ ऑल रिगिंग डिक्लेयर कर रहे हैं.
But critics ask, is PTI against military interference in politics or just against interference, not in its favor?
On one hand, they say this is our military and this is our country.
Murtuza Solangi is a senior journalist who served as the Federal Information Minister in the caretaker government ahead of the February 2024 elections.
But attacking the top leadership of Pakistani military and trying to cut deals with them, at the same time trying to convert it into an institution that would mainly serve the interests of a megalomaniac, egoistic politician, clearly means that it has nothing to do with democracy.
After Pakistan's independence from British colonial rule in 1947, the country's military quickly took on a prominent role. The first military coup took place in 1958, and since, generals have governed the country directly for nearly half of its entire history. Even during democratic interludes, real power has often been exercised from behind the scenes, with the military continuing to exert significant influence in key policy areas.
Pakistan was created in 1947. It was created in haste. It was created with very little preparation.
Hussain Haqqani is a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C. and the Anwar Gargash Diplomatic Academy in Abu Dhabi. He also served as Pakistan's ambassador to the United States from 2008 to 2011.
The only institution that had a physical presence sufficiently strong in the area that became Pakistan was the army. The first few years, the army was run by British officers who deferred to the then civilian leadership. The civilian leadership did not hold general elections. As a result, they lost legitimacy. It was basically all palace coups and palace manipulation. During that phase, the weight of the army, as soon as the army got a indigenous commander, General Ayub Khan, who became commander-in-chief in 1951, as soon as he got power, he decided to put his weight first behind one set of politicians, then behind another, and by 1958, he was ready to take power in a coup d'etat.
They decide who's going to come. And for decades they have pushed governments out, either directly or indirectly.
Aisha Siddiqa is an author and senior fellow at King's College London and an expert on military affairs, South Asia, and politics.
There have been more than 12 to 15 years of direct military rule. Then another method which the military adopts is running government through military presidents, which they have done. About 15 years of that in Pakistan's history. But a longer period is also when they run it in partnership with civilians. And that is one of the most tricky periods in Pakistan's politics, because the face of such governments is civilian.
The military claims it doesn't seek political control, but just steps in when civilian governance breaks down. In 1977, General Ziaul Haq seized power amid widespread political unrest and street protests against an elected government. 2 decades later, after taking over in a bloodless coup, General Pervez Musharraf called for the institutionalization of the military's political role. Those who defend the army and its action as an institution see the military as a stabilizing force in a fragile state that is constantly threatened by religious extremism, militancy, separatism, and external enemies. Border skirmishes with India are also not uncommon. The two, now nuclear-armed neighbors, have fought 4 major wars since independence. But during the past 2 years, the country has seen an uptick in militant violence, particularly in its western provinces bordering Afghanistan and Iran. In March 2025, militants attacked a passenger train in the southwest of the country, triggering a 36-hour hostage crisis. The army led the rescue, but after the operation, the army chief raised alarm over governance gaps in the civilian system. This statement signaled what many thought was the military's perspective. They claim failure in governance, whether social, economic, or political, ultimately leads to a host of security challenges in the country. So, politics and security, therefore, cannot be treated separately.
And the military sees itself as the only institution that can decide what is in Pakistan's national interest. Therefore, even major foreign policy decisions are no longer made by Pakistan's diplomats, but they are made by the military officers and conveyed to the diplomat.
I think this is not an accurate perception that Pakistan Army controls Pakistan's foreign policy.
Syed Muhammad Ali is a senior research fellow at the Center for International Strategic Studies, an Islamabad-based think tank.
Like all countries, the input on critical foreign policy issues is offered to the Foreign Office by different institutions, including military, including intelligence, including civilian intelligence organizations, and different think tanks as well. And Foreign Office practically functions as the entity which consolidates this input into policy and active policy measures.
For decades, political parties have struggled to govern independently. They have often invited military mediation during crises, reinforcing the army's central role.
आइन ने बहुत क्लियर कट डिफाइन किया है कि कौन किसको सियासत में हिस्सा लेना चाहिए, किसको नहीं लेना चाहिए.
Mazhar Abbas is a senior journalist and political analyst.
सियासी जमातों ने अपनी मसलहतों का शिकार रही सियासी जमातों में, और इस्टेब्लिशमेंट ने बाद अखात बहुत ही गैर ज़रूरी तौर पे मुदाखलत की.
The problem in Pakistan is that everybody looks towards the army as the one that is going to resolve a stalemate or become the final arbiter in a confrontation. If the politicians work things out among themselves, there would be no need for a final arbiter. And like other countries where there is democracy and civilian supremacy, the civilians would control the political process and the army will take directions from the civilian leadership.
The military's power isn't limited to politics. Over the years, it has built a vast financial empire, estimated to exceed $20 billion, spanning from real estate and banking to construction and agribusiness.
This desire for autonomy has led them into the business sector. So all three major sectors, agriculture, manufacturing, service industry, you have military presence there and a very dominant military presence. So they became powerful. They built their economic strength on the basis of their political strength.
This autonomy has made the institution harder to reform.
There is a perception that Pakistan Army is involved in business ventures, but in reality, such initiatives are governed by the necessity to take care of the families of deceased armed forces personnel, particularly those who have laid down their lives in different combats and crises.
Not only Imran Khan, over time political leaders including former Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto were exiled or jailed. Protests turn into crises and the military continues to act as the ultimate guarantor of stability while denying any political ambition.
These are politicians who have always been out of time. So never have the time and the confidence to build institutions to push back the military. So it doesn't happen.
If politicians stop playing games with one another, agree that they will respect each other's mandates, agree to the rules of the game, then it will be very difficult for the military to intervene in politics.
Allegations of electoral manipulation and institutional overreach continue to raise concerns about the country's long-term trajectory. But many argue this isn't just about one party, one leader, or one general.
This is a military which will not be controlled through dealing with individual generals. It has to be an institutional approach. And unfortunately, we have two problems here. And one of the problems is that most of the politicians who are in power, they are created by the military itself. And they feel that they have communication to kind of convince the military to allow them, let them remain in power. Doesn't work that way.
Will Pakistan break out of this vicious cycle and transition towards a more stable democratic order? One in which state institutions operate within their clearly defined boundaries and power is exercised with undiluted accountability. The answer will shape Pakistan's future and its democracy for years to come.